Good morning, Alan. We're so glad you could join us on Dairy Business Update.
Good morning, Joel. Thank you for having me.
As we get started, why don't you just begin by just giving us a little bit of information about your dairy farming activities?
Okay, we farm in St. Lawrence County, right on the Canadian border in northern New York with my brother and sister-in-law and myself and my wife. We have about 13 employees, 600 cows. We do some crop farming, and last March or April when the COVID bug hit, we put a little store on the farm, so we do some retail beef business, adding in there some Cabot cheese that our farm produces through Agrimart, and also some milk from King Brothers Dairy.
And you're going to be doing some maple syrup this year too, I understand.
Yes, we also have a small operation sugar bush, but the sugar house is right beside the store, so we'll be doing some touring and hopefully kind of tie it all in. One thing with the COVID in the store is brought to my attention, just even in our rural area in northern New York, how out of touch with where people think their food comes from. I didn't think it was that big a gap in northern New York. I kind of assumed it was in the larger cities, the more metropolitan area, but it's really been an eye-opening experience having people on the farm in the store and trying to educate them a little bit.
Well, I'm sure fascinating for your customers and for you too. But let's shift gears here a little bit. You're just finishing up your year as president of National DHIA. But let's step back and kind of remind us of the value of DHIA for you as a herd owner and a herd manager.
Well, I mean, as a herd owner or manager, the numbers that we get out of DHI are the backbone of the decisions that we make on a daily basis. With overabundance of heifers a year ago, a little over a year, we decided to breed some of the animals to beef. Now, most all the matings that the AI services do through that is through the genomics, but then I tie in all the phenotypical data with that, and a cow that's making 30,000 pound herd average for the year and given 160 pounds, I have a hard time breeding beef to. So we've had to make some adjustments, but that data wouldn't be available if we weren't on test. We've also used that phenotypical data to determine what we're breeding the heifers to and what we're using for cull rates. This year was extremely important when they started limiting us on milk production as to what animals you were going to keep and not keep, and get production down to whatever your base number was for your co-op. So how people were able to make those decisions without having quality data, I don't, it's just hard for me to understand how they could make those decisions.
Well, speaking of data, during this year, National DHI has made announcements about affiliations with a number of organizations, all that we might put under the heading of data connectivity. Talk just for a moment about some of the new relationships that National DHI has with some new organizations, actually.
One of them is IDEN. That comes to mind right off the top of the bat. That's a group of 7 organizations which we are part of, and that's worldwide, and that's put together as a group so that they can make all the data flow comfortably in and out, and it's going to help milk equipment dealers so they don't have to have so many computer programs and different stuff to tie it together. So it's going to bring it all in, and we'll be able to do some comparisons through Europe, Australia, and US and Canada, and the other ones in the European sector that are members of IDEN. So IOTA is another one, and I relate that. It took me a while to understand that, but when I got all done, they take all the data that's coming in and not only from the DHIs, but also from other production areas on the farm. So after doing some reflection and looking back on it, they are basically the farmer on some of these large farms, making the decision that myself or a farmer on a small farm would make. It's very interesting. This is all done in conjunction with the DRPCs and with the CDCB.
Sure, and obviously coordinated in the DHI system by National DHIA.
Yes.
You've also done some work, you meaning National DHIA, with USDA, Agile, and the CDCB, developing new factors for DHI mature equivalent, ME records. What does this entail, and why is that important?
Well, this has been a robust project that has been 5 years in the coming. So what that's going to entitle is on a 12-month period, they're going to be taking biweekly or weekly samples on the farm on certain groups of animals, so that if a farmer doesn't want to test all the cows on the farm, maybe they just want to test a certain pen, the fresh pens, they could do that at their convenience, or when they want to do it to gather the data out and make better decisions on feed rations and health programs and how these cows are doing. But in doing that, they also have parts of the dairy that they might not want to test. So when they're doing this, you have to have a way of tying all these numbers in together and making it work. So this is what this study is going to be doing, the factors number. And it's like I said, it's a robust project for weekly sampling on a 12-month period. And it's to develop these models and factors so that you can tie all that together, and it'll reflect on the biology and management of how you can work with these dairy cattle. So that's like I was telling you, selective groups of this, they will not be testing all the cows, just pens and fresh cows if they want to. And another herd characteristic of it that's being implemented is on the herd code assignments that will be a follow-up to this factors project, and it'll allow the ability to manipulate the characteristics of these herd. For example, if you have a herd that is milking in on the same site, they're milking in a robot and also a milking parlor facility. Tie everything together so that the data is there for the farmer to use.
And I think that you've alluded to the fact that part of what the DHI system has been adapting to in recent times is to make it flexible and efficient and very usable for herds of different sizes, herds that need different sorts of management information. So a herd can, in effect, develop its own unique DHI program that delivers the information that it needs.
Yes, exactly. The days I can remember growing up as a kid, the days of DHI being a police force, and that your cows were milked at a certain time on a certain day, so you had a certain amount of production coming out to go to the herd industry or the AIs. That's not what DHI is about anymore. It's about delivering the highest quality, most consistent data back to the farmer that he can use in a daily basis to make decisions on his farm to be profitable.
And speaking of quality, under the DHI system, there's a quality certification program too. You might just mention how that works for the industry.
Well, the QCS program is something unique to the dairy industry. At many of the other meetings I've been in, you never hear any QCS on information coming off your chopper or data coming off from your combine. So I don't know, maybe they have some QCS on those programs, but it's never mentioned. Now with DHI, everything is QCS, from the farmer that has the meters on his farm, his own meters, to the DRPCs and the milk labs and anybody handling that product. So we know that they're getting accurate data. And Steve Sievert does an absolute excellent job at making sure these programs and protocols are made and by the testing organizations, and even for the farmers that have their own on-farm meters. It's been a bit of a challenge with COVID and Steve not being able to travel and get out to the dairies and to the milk labs and to do it, but Steve's an awesome person and he does a great job. So you can be assured that if your data has the QC on it from National DHI, it is what it says.
Well, that's great. Another aspect of DHI that's fundamental is animal ID, individual animal ID, and the ID of the collected milk samples too, that you can obviously connect with that particular animal. It's really the foundation of DHI programs. What's happening with animal ID, RFID, some of the new developments there?
Well, if you can remember last year at our national meeting, we set some dates and some timelines of when we anticipate or when we want to have the right ID. If you don't have the right ID and the right animal, there goes your data. It's not correct. So we took the bull by the horns last year at our annual meeting and set some deadlines of when we anticipate that this needs to be taken care of. After we did that, we got some information from the USDA that they are going to also put in place a national ID program. But when they came out with their statement of what they were doing, they did not tie in the RFID at all. And that was one thing that we said that national, we felt it needed to be. So when USDA had a question period, we were able to answer back and kind of promote the RFID tag part of it. Now, I know that they've had some lawsuits because other organizations don't want to have things mandated to them on animal ID. So I know it's going forward. I was told by Stout and collaborator and friend of mine that it is moving at the speed of light. We just don't know what light bulb they're using yet, if it's a 40 watt or a 10 watt. So I can't tell you when that light is going to be bright enough to hit everybody, but it's moving at the speed of light, I was told.
And DHI continues to facilitate correct animal ID in dairy herds, which is fundamental for producers and for the system.
Oh, it's huge. The amount of money that is spent on the wrong ID, the wrong herd code, it just blew my mind when they told me it was up in the just short of the $1 million range that they spend on trying to fix these IDs. So if we can get it fixed and started right from the beginning, it would save everybody a lot of money, and we could use that money for research projects. It could help us out.
Sure. Well, as I look at my stopwatch here, we're kind of getting to the end of our allotted time. Any other thoughts from your perspective as a producer and as an industry leader?
Well, I think we all need to keep striving to move forward and do better. And we can do this if you have the right data. If you want to milk more cows, we can give you the data on more cows. If you want to reach your base number and do it with less cows and be more productive that way, then that's something we can also help you with. But COVID-19 has put a strain on everybody financially. I don't think all of us know the complete ramifications of it yet. I know it's been 12 months now, and so we're getting things ready to go for the next spring, and you're having a hard time tracking down parts. It might take 10 days to get some parts where you used to drive to the equipment dealer and get them. We've all taken on different roles. I mean, my goodness, I was a second grade teacher, a cashier in the store, the cafeteria lady, and a cook. That was all in a 1 week time period. I would much rather milk cows than be a second grade teacher with 18 little kids on their tablets, because that teacher earns her money.
It's one thing to have
I think the industry is going to come through this and be strong, and we at National DHI are going to be there to help you.
Well, thank you very much. We're speaking with Alan Chester, dairy farmer in Madrid, New York, and president of National DHI. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Joel.